Really plant drugs in her car and call the cops?
Irvine, please.
They're not mine. I swear to you, they're not mine.
When the truth comes out, mom and dad, both lawyers, find they're the ones on trial. The Parent Trap. Then, a very different set of parents. This husband and wife very much in love. Mom and dad devoted to their kids. But he used to be a she, and she used to be a he. Both were born the opposite gender.
You know that everybody out there is wondering, what are you going to tell these two beautiful boys one day about who mommy and daddy are?
It was dad who got pregnant.
I didn't want to leave the house.
Nobody knew till tonight.
I mean, are you a little worried that when people see you on 2020 that there's going to be a reaction to this?
The trans parents. And what if mom and dad are on marijuana?
They're saying I'm an unfit mom because I use weed.
Completely legal medical marijuana. So why does the state take their 5-year-old away?
This is destroying me. I can't not be with my son.
It's happening across the country.
I'm gonna take her.
We're there as one couple fights to put their family back together. High stakes. Tonight, meet the parents. Here now, David Muir and Elizabeth Vargas.
Good evening. Get ready to meet the parents. You know, it's great when moms and dads are involved in their child's school, but we've all seen it, parents who might get a little too involved. Tonight, you're about to meet a mom and dad waging a sort of class warfare after class.
A lawyer mom who's late to pick up her 6-year-old trades words with a volunteer PTA president. As Chris Conley explains, that verbal squabble ignited a take-no-prisoners war that landed them all in court.
Irvine, California is the navel of Orange County, with the appeal of its tree-lined streets and quiet neighborhoods. But things would get a lot more exciting at the local police department around 1:15 p.m. one school day afternoon, as a call comes in. A call that sure sounds like the male voice of a fretful parent looking out for the welfare of his child.
Irvine, please.
Yes, hi. I was calling because my daughter's a student at Plaza Vista Elementary School. I was just had to go over to the school and saw a car driving very erratically. I'm concerned one of the parent volunteers there may be under the influence or using drugs.
Dispatched to the school's parking lot, Officer Charles Shaver finds a white PT Cruiser that matches the caller's description.
The caller said that he thought the driver put something behind the driver's seat in the pocket, so I went to the driver's side and looked in the window.
What were you able to see from the window?
There was a large bag of marijuana that was protruding out of the seat pocket behind the driver's seat. It was very clear.
Officer Shaver enters the school to speak with the car's driver, parent, PTA president, and school volunteer Kelly Peters.
So I started to panic. I started literally crying. Did something happen to my husband? And he said, sorry. He said, no, nothing happened to your husband. No, that's not why we're here.
With families filling the parking lot, the officer explains why he's there as he walks with Kelly to her car.
So when I got to the car, I used the key to unlock it and pulled out the marijuana and showed it to her.
What was her reaction?
Devastated, and she started crying hysterically and dropped down on her knees. Continued to search the car, and I also found a bag of Percocet and a bag of Vicodin.
And they put it out on top of the police car for everybody to see, which was really hard because I kept thinking, my daughter's getting out any minute. And I'm just thinking, the whole world is looking at this right now. And I said, please, they're not mine. I swear to you, they're not mine.
As soon as Kelly is brought inside for questioning, she passes a field sobriety test. For Officer Shaver, something's not adding up.
I was starting to form the opinion that, maybe she was telling me the truth. Maybe there was somebody that was trying to set her up.
Yeah, but everybody says that, right?
You arrest so many people that have drugs in their pockets and they tell you, hey, these aren't my pants.
They wanted to know, if they thought, was there anybody that I knew that would do this to me? And I said, yes, oh my God.
She said, Jill Easter.
Bingo. 1 year earlier, attorney and mother Jill Easter arrived at the Plaza Vista school, late, Kelly says, to pick up her 6-year-old son from after-school activities, tennis lessons, which Kelly helped supervise. But the first grader wasn't in his usual pickup location. Jill Easter was plenty upset and blamed Kelly.
And I said, well, I am so sorry. I said he didn't line up fast enough. Maybe he just walked slow.
For Jill Easter, and later her husband Kent, who's an attorney as well, that word, slow, would activate a kind of bad parenting nuclear bomb that would exact a spectacular toll.
I believe Mrs. Peters said, you're being slow, like falling behind in line, and I think the Easters took it as their son was being mentally slow.
Jill Easter's words to Kelly grew increasingly heated.
I said, I'm done. This is crazy. And that made her very angry. She lost her mind over it. I turned my back and she yelled, I will get you!
Using their legal acumen, these two lawyers launched a vitriolic campaign against Kelly Peters. Their letter to the school principal was also handed out to parents in the parking lot. It accused Kelly of purposely leaving their son unsupervised, blamed her for his anxiety attacks, and demanded that she be fired from her unpaid position.
They attempted to have me removed from the school, removed from any Irvine school, banished, completely banished.
After the school investigation backed Kelly 100%, Jill Easter stepped up her anti-Kelly animus in court.
What else did she and her husband do?
Filed lawsuits against me, a restraining order. She told the judge that I tried to kill her, and that I was stalking her. I mean, they just went on to torture me for a really long time.
Which 1 year later brings us back to that day on the school parking lot, the day Kelly is questioned by police. That night, a sweep of her home shows zero evidence of the drugs found in her car. The investigation takes a new turn. Like, remember that call to the Irvine PD?
And saw a car driving very erratically.
The cops are able to trace the call to the business center at a Newport Beach hotel. Not exactly the place to spot erratic driving in Irvine, but whatever. And it gets better. Turns out there's security camera video of a man walking through the lobby. Guess who? It's Kent Easter.
So when the police were able to determine that the defendant's law firm was right next door, the pieces started to come together for them.
Kelly's civil attorney Rob Marcero also notes the class warfare on display.
They are both highly educated attorneys, went to top schools. They should know better. They believe they're above the law, that they can do anything to anyone.
Tests show the Easter's DNA is on the marijuana pipe found in Kelly's car. And cell phone tower pings seem to indicate their phones were near Kelly's home the night before the drugs were found. So Kent and Jill Easter are charged with tricking police into falsely apprehending Kelly. And that's when things really get weird, as in parents gone wild weird.
The case of an Irvine lawyer who's charged with planting in the car of a PTA volunteer.
Good afternoon.
Good afternoon.
Not so fast. Before going to trial, Jill cops a plea.
Jill Easter wanted to plead guilty and was willing to plead guilty.
Jill gets 120 days, but Kent decides to fight the charges. The DA goes to the video and to the audio of that call to police that started it all.
I'm concerned one of the parent volunteers there may be under the influence.
Which, if you listen on, features this Southern California lawyer suddenly swerving into a foreign accent as he uses an Indian name for an alias.
VJ.
And what's your last name?
Chandrasekhar.
And do you know this person's name?
I think her name is Kelly.
Kent's attorney paints him as Jill's hapless stooge.
An overly trusting husband trying to appease a difficult wife.
Entered into evidence, this email from Jill to Kent, a sort of honey-do list from hell. She has some legal assignments for Kent and wants them done in 24 hours. Exhausts the criminal code against Kelly and files suits against the school district, the school, and whomever else we possibly can tomorrow. Kent's lawyer has another goodie for the jury to help establish Kent as clueless and Jill as the master manipulator.
She wasn't tied in with her husband. She was having an outrageously over-the-top affair.
Yes, Jill's been having a 5-alarm affair with a fireman right under Kent's nose. His attorney scrolls through texts from Jill's lover. Poetry like, I want to squeeze your booty, and will you be my sex slave?
On Jill Easter's phone were some of the most graphic sexting messages that I've ever seen. But to me, it had no relevance to the trial.
Yet despite the defense airing all her dirty laundry, near the trial's end, there stands Jill herself, dressed to kill, to take the witness stand in her husband's defense. But wait a second, there's a last-minute problem. Jill is complaining that she's now deaf. As in, can't hear the judge. As in, it's gonna be real hard to testify. The jury needs less than an afternoon. Guilty. Kent Easter is sentenced to 180 days in jail. Kind-hearted Kelly is left to wonder just how she wound up as the most unlikely bee in the Easter's bonnet.
I asked myself that every single day. What did I do wrong? What did I do to deserve this?
Is there an answer to that question?
I've never intentionally ever hurt anybody. There's just no reason that someone should do this to another person, ever.
Next. Yes, they smoke pot, they sell it and grow it. Perfectly legal in their state.
And our kids are super safe and super healthy.
So why has the state taken their 5-year-old away? When Meet the Parents continues.
Welcome back tonight. Medical marijuana about to be legal in 23 states now. Recreational use is already okay in Colorado and Washington. But here's the question. What if there are kids in the house? It's a new debate in courtrooms across the country. If mom and dad are smoking pot, even legally, can the state take their children away? Nick Watt tonight, following 2 parents fighting to keep their child. Whose side will you be on?
Like so many millions of Americans, perhaps even you, dear Friday night network TV viewer, Jesse and Vicar Thompson of Bellingham, Washington, enjoy a good hit of marijuana.
When I walked into your home, the first smell is marijuana. There are plants growing downstairs.
Jesse, a cancer survivor, takes it for pain. Vicar, for arthritis and a nervous condition. Doctor prescribed, totally legal up here in the Evergreen State. Even recreational uses now okay.
Do you use it every day?
Pretty much every day, yeah.
And the Thompsons aren't just blazing away for their own purposes. 2 years ago, at their little business called The Grow Shop, they began selling their own homegrown strains.
This one's Grape Ape. It's another strain that's new to us.
As well as those trendy edibles. Marijuana-laced gummy treats, chocolate bars.
Then I found cannabis, and it saved my life.
The kind herb grows right there by the front door.
So pretty.
And cannabis isn't the only thing growing in the Thompson house. There's also their 5-year-old Jerry and 13-year-old Sahani, Vicar's son from a previous marriage. Sahani's father asked us to obscure his face.
What are you making?
A snow angel.
And here's where it gets complicated. See, for most of you parents out there, keeping your kids away from pot is, well, pretty high on the list of parental priorities. And parenting while high, probably a no-no too. But the Thompsons don't just say no. They're too busy saying, yeah. Not all medical marijuana gets you high, but a lot of it does. Psychoactive, as they say.
And are you still capable of being a responsible parent?
Oh, yeah.
When you're a little bit high?
Oh, yeah.
Definitely.
Really?
Yeah.
How?
It's just like being normal.
But you're high.
That just means that I have an elevated mood. It doesn't mean that I'm incapacitated or that I can't think straight. I'm on pot right now and I'm able to parent.
But first we're gonna be the queen.
Listen, plenty people parent after a couple of beers, and that's not prescribed by a doctor. But there is an apparent gap between the enforcement of child protection laws and marijuana statutes, and that gap has led to gut-wrenching scenes around the country, like this one in Michigan.
Take her!
You're stealing the baby.
Sir, they have a court apprehension order signed by a judge to take the child.
In many, multiplying cases, Child Protective Services are taking kids away, at least temporarily, from legal, legit users of medical marijuana. Watch this. Shot in California.
I want you to understand that your baby doesn't need to be subjected to marijuana.
And what makes you think he is?
Because your house really smells bad of marijuana.
That mother in this CNN video has a license. She's broken no law, but her child is taken. Attorney Jennifer Annie was able to get the child returned home.
This is really happening.
Correct.
Common?
Very.
This one's developing quick.
The Thompsons never imagined running afoul of the law since medical marijuana has been legal in Washington for well over a decade. But in November, they say a workplace dispute at the grow shop blossomed into a big-time buzzkill.
We had an employee, Michelle, we let her go. About a month later, she decided to retaliate by calling CPS.
And what did she tell them?
She told them that we not only are feeding our children marijuana all the time, but that they have access to it in our home and in our business.
Is that true?
No, that is not true. Not at all.
Now, giving pot to minors without a licensed physician's approval is verboten. So authorities have reason to ask questions. Within days of that call, they interview Sahani at school.
The CPS spoke to your other son, who claimed that you had fed him
A gooball.
a gooball, which is what?
Oh, just the medicated, like, peanut butter raisin ball.
Medicated, just to be clear, with psychoactive marijuana. That gets you high.
And did you?
Yes. Yes, I did.
Without a doctor's approval.
He gets aggressive and is too mean sometimes.
Okay.
And just needs to, like, I don't know, like, look inside and relax. And
After that, the city quickly shuts down the grow shop.
Came to work one day and CPS and the police showed up with a stop work order saying that my gardening store is unfit to occupy, unsafe, and I'm not allowed to do business.
Losing the business is one thing. The Thompsons are also in danger of losing little Jerry. Now it's battle stations. CPS requests a meeting. Social workers want to address the accusations face to face with the family. But the Thompsons are suspicious. They bring along a posse. Friends, family, and several pro-pot activists from the region.
No mother, no true mother, but still someone else's child.
They're carrying signs, they're carrying cameras. It's on video when social workers emerge from the building and Jesse tells them he doesn't want to have the meeting unless every word is recorded.
You can record.
You can't record.
Then we can wait for an attorney.
Okay, but is your attorney?
Not today.
Oh no, we can reschedule.
The upshot of that encounter?
Thank you all for coming out.
Disaster.
So they had a meeting without you
Yeah.
and decided what?
They decided to take Jerry at that point.
Now the Thompsons are terrified that something like this was about to go down.
No, you're pointing a gun at me? Are you kidding me?
Raleigh, North Carolina, just last year.
There is a child in this house. Do not point guns.
CPS comes to this home with a SWAT team to remove a little girl.
The order says right here that the mother can be with the daughter.
She is deemed to be in danger in part because the dad is a recreational pot smoker. To avoid any traumatic confrontations, the Thompsons choose to deliver Jerry to CPS themselves. This time, they left the cameras at home.
What is the feeling? How do you deal with it?
I felt like my heart might stop, like tightness in my chest and I couldn't breathe, and just like the world was ending and I couldn't think straight. Just the worst possible moment of my life ever.
As Vika's other son, Sahani, is sent to live with his father full-time, the Thompsons continue to document their ordeal, a moment of anguish in the bathroom.
Jerry deserves better than this. CPS is wrong. They have overstepped.
And in Jerry's now empty bedroom,
Just about the worst thing that could happen. And our kids are super safe and super healthy. There's what the law says isn't necessarily right.
what happens next? Well, that's going to be determined in this courtroom.
They're saying I'm an unfit mom. He's unsafe because I used weed. They made up a bunch of garbage about things that they don't know.
Who's right? What does the law say? And where's Jerry sleeping tonight?
There's the house where Jerry is.
I can't not be with my son.
The judge's verdict when we come back.
2020 Meet the Parents continues. Once again, Nick Watt.
There's the house where Jerry is.
This is the house where Jesse Thompson's 5-year-old son Jerry lives now. Jesse can drive by, but the law says he can't go inside. He's not allowed to see Jerry.
This is destroying me. I can't not be with my son. He's all that matters.
Jesse and his wife Vicar have lost Jerry because authorities claim they were feeding him marijuana edibles.
Is that true?
No.
Not at all?
No.
Never?
We never fed Jerry marijuana. We don't want to feed him marijuana.
But they admit feeding it to his older half-brother Sahani to relax him.
That's okay?
I felt like it was okay, yeah.
Do you now feel like it's okay?
No, I definitely don't feel like it was okay. Even though it helped him medically, I wouldn't do it again.
Remember, marijuana is legal in Washington. The Thompsons grow it, use it. Vicar even cooks up a skincare salve with it. She swears by it.
It's an amazing pain relief.
But giving it to minors without the proper medical permission, that's a no-no.
Good afternoon, Your Honor.
So now the Thompsons spend their days fighting in court to get their Jerry back. With the support of the cannabis community, here they are, sharing videos of the little boy lost.
And you're jumping in the pile.
He's so incredibly well-adjusted and smart.
The court is awaiting results of a drug test on little Jerry. The whole case could hinge on this.
I can just tell you, Mr. Olson, I expect those results to be here.
All right, let's go.
In the meantime, as the weeks drag on,
Your visit at 11?
It is.
Okay, wonderful. Have a seat.
the Thompsons can only see Jerry here, the local CPS office. Today, they've come with his little guitar and other toys.
This is his floaty toy for his bath. Things to help him feel at home.
They wear microphones for the start of this precious visit.
We're so happy to see you. Oh, buddy.
He missed you too.
That's Jerry doing his best, Jerry Garcia. And about 90 minutes later,
Jerry's just crying, screaming. He wants to go home with his family.
2 weeks before Christmas, the Thompsons prepare for a fateful hearing. They want to look their best because the moment of truth has arrived. The drug test results are back. The proof the Thompsons expect will clear them once and for all.
I feel strong, confident.
This is the hair follicle drug test results on Jerry.
So imagine the shock when instead they hear this.
Jerry was positive for cannabinoids, THC, by ingesting an environmental exposure.
Positive. 5-year-old Jerry tests positive for marijuana. Remember that salve Vicar was making? That's how she now explains the results.
The test came back positive, right? I mean, how do you explain that?
It was a really low level. It could come from me having salve on my hand and touching him.
Really?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
So you have used it on him?
Yeah.
She's been smoking, say experts. No way could a salve lead to a positive test result. They say little Jerry must have been fed marijuana.
I've never had a case where a parent who is a qualified patient uses their medicine and gives it to their child. That's really bad judgment.
But then it's agonizing. They run out of time. Court adjourned to resume after the holidays.
Pretty destroyed over that. It's about the worst I've ever felt. Christmas, I'm not going to be able to bring myself to decorate without my kids around.
Finally, after weeks of stilted, supervised visitations, it's Judgment Day. As their supporters chant outside,
No one deserves to go to prison for a plant.
the Thompsons head into court.
Effectively, Mr. and Ms. Thompson have criminally endangered Jerry's health and well-being with myopic fascination with marijuana that seems so unhinged that they think there is nothing wrong with exposing 5-year-old Jerry to it, even to the point of his intoxication.
Here comes the ruling, and it starts very badly.
You made the mind-boggling decision to give marijuana to a 5-year-old. Don't talk, listen. I've listened, now it's your turn.
But just as all seems lost,
There is no evidence that the child, other than the giving of the marijuana, has been injured, neglected, or in any other way harmed. Because there is no other evidence of neglect or abuse, we will do an in-home placement. Stop.
The law says there has to be serious physical harm. Children can't be removed because of bad judgment. If they could, lots of people wouldn't have kids because we all make mistakes.
The court issues a stern warning.
There'll be no exposure to marijuana smoke, edibles, oils, or any form. If this child tests positive, it's very simple. You will not have the child living with you.
Here they come.
And the family is reunited.
Dude. Oh my God.
Jerry came home just last week. He missed Christmas with Mom and Dad, so they finally put some Christmas lights up.
You like the Christmas lights?
At the beginning of January.
Get under the blanket.
And he went to sleep in his own bed.
He did.
Yeah.
He asked me to lay down with him, yeah, which I really, really wanted to, and I snuggled him and he fell right asleep and it was great, yeah. And then I just kept looking in there at him all night long. So happy.
But what about those plants still growing at home?
So, you're going to do things differently now?
Absolutely, yeah. We're going to hide the marijuana. Yeah, and I definitely feel like I shouldn't give it to children.
Because, well, only because it's illegal.
But if the doctor was looking over me telling me that it was okay, then I would think, yeah, it's totally safe, especially to put salve on a cut or a rash.
So if you were given medical advice, you should give your child marijuana,
I would
you would
feel
do it?
very safe about that, yeah.
Would you?
So we want to know what you think tonight. Does smoking pot legally mean you can't do a good job as a parent? We're live tweeting throughout tonight's program. Let us know. Use the hashtag ABC2020.
And join the conversation on our Facebook page as well. We'll be back with more parents, two parents who are about to reveal their family secret to the entire nation.
Next, a new kind of modern family leading a life they never imagined.
Every child loves to hear the story of how they were born. And Kai and Pax have a big twist to their story.
They do. Mom used to be a man, and Dad used to be a woman. They are trans parents. When Meet the Parents continues.
When you're a child, your mom and dad are the entire universe, and that universe is expanding. Just this week, the lead actor in Transparent, who plays a transgender father, won a Golden Globe. And two little boys in Kentucky are part of this expanding world. Their transgender parents have endured more than most to find each other and to bring them into the world. A mom and dad who haven't told their neighbors they weren't born this way, haven't told them, that is, until tonight. On the surface, the Bowsers may look like an ordinary family.
Do we have tomatoes?
There's mom, Bianca, age 32, dad, Nick, he's 27. And their two rambunctious toddlers, Kai, aged 3, and Pax, 17 months.
I got it!
All right, yay, Merry Christmas.
But in their wildest dreams, these two parents never imagined that they would get to enjoy this kind of ordinary. Because behind her long black hair and feminine figure, Bianca was born a boy named Jason. And despite his cropped hair and the whisper of a mustache, Nick was born a girl named Nicole.
We fit the basic definition of what a transgender person is, so...
Let me just show you a trick, though, okay?
Our children do not see us as transgender people. We are mommy and daddy.
Don't go, Mommy and Daddy.
We'll be right back.
A mommy and a daddy with a twist. Both were born in Georgia and have followed remarkably mirrored paths.
How old were each of you when you first realized something's not right? I don't think this is matching up.
I guess it was about 5 years old. I remember sneaking into Mom's closet when she was off at work and putting on a pair of heels. I've always felt more liberated during those moments.
I always thought, I want to be a boy. I looked at boys, I saw, guys with their shirts off, and I was like, that's what I want to look like.
As teenagers, feeling trapped in their bodies, they faced cruel taunts.
Name calling and being picked on, bullying.
What kinds of names?
Queer, fag, the general
things.
Cruel names, yes. My mannerisms were more effeminate and I just did not fit the mold.
Nick says he didn't have it any easier. He left home at 17.
Was your family supportive?
No, they were not, no.
Wow, so both of you experienced a lot of rejection around trying to figure out who you were as people.
Right.
I don't think anybody can understand what it's like to be us.
Unless you're transgender, you
Unless
won't.
you're transgender, you won't.
No. 20 is when I came to terms with being transgender, starting to live my life as a woman, applying the makeup, wearing women's clothing.
And is that when you first truly feel like you found happiness?
That is where a heavy weight on my shoulders was lifted, yes.
But even after struggling for so long to find their true identities, they still never believed they'd find anyone else.
Did you ever feel like no one's gonna ever want to be with me because of who I am?
Yes.
So neither of you ever expected to find a soulmate, a life mate?
No.
No, not at all.
Each was taking hormones and considering expensive surgeries to transform their bodies into the genders they so deeply believed they were born to be.
I had planned on gender reassignment surgery, and I was starting to save up my money for it. I had already made my plan, and then I met Nick.
Bianca, a performer at a local club, was getting ready for her act when one night Nick walked in.
He caught my eye, and our bartender friend, I asked her if she knew who he was, and she said yeah. And I said, well, just let him know I think he's cute.
And Bianca walked up to me and said who she was.
How quickly did the two of you fall in love?
It was pretty instant for me.
They dated for a year. And marriage, a small ceremony in Georgia. The first dance, and a first step to their life together. One in which their most intimate moments require literally reverting to the sexual identities with which they were born, but now reject.
People want to know how we have sex. I'm like, well, how do you have sex?
The same way you have sex.
Same way.
Right.
It works all the same way.
In essence, when you are having sex, you're having sex with a man.
I don't view Bianca as a man, regardless of what she might have. For me, in my head, that's not what I see. It's not how I feel.
They began to consider what every married couple does, having kids. Putting aside any plans for gender surgery, they decided instead to spend their savings on raising a family. So Nick, who had spent 7 years becoming a man, agreed to undergo yet another physical transformation, becoming a mother.
It was an absolutely horrible experience.
Really?
The almost 20 months total of my life was probably the darkest time in my entire life. You know, my brain was telling me that I was one person, my body looks like a completely different person. It was a daily struggle between mind and body.
You were afraid to walk outside because people would see a pregnant
I
man.
I didn't want to leave the house.
Nick delivered both boys by cesarean section. They moved to this quiet neighborhood in Louisville, Kentucky. And as we followed this modern family to the toy store,
Shark?
Yeah.
and to the aquarium,
Hi there.
No, we're gonna leave that alone, okay?
we wondered what happens when these lively toddlers grow older and start asking questions.
What are you going to tell these two beautiful boys one day about who mommy and daddy are?
I don't know when or how, or...
Gradually and in ways that they can understand. I mean, eventually the questions will come about. Schools calling us and saying, your child said that his mommy has a penis and things like that.
Better have an answer ready for that one.
Right.
Every child loves to hear the story of how they were born. And Kai and Pax have a big twist to their story.
They do.
They came out of daddy's body. Right.
We're telling them the truth, and I think that's the most important thing, and in a way that they can understand.
I'll push.
Okay, you push.
Nick and Bianca have a lot of faith and hope that their children will understand and that their neighbors and school friends will see this family and them as human beings, nothing more and nothing less.
I would like to think that society as a whole, by the time Kai is in 3rd and 4th grade, will have changed. I mean, it's changed from 15 years ago. Why shouldn't it change in the next 3 to 4 years?
Hell, thank you.
Thank you so much.
How many people here know that while you look like a man and a woman, underneath right now you are still a man and a woman?
Currently, the people that we work with after this airs, I don't know.
I was going to say, with the caveat, this is about to be on national television. I mean, are you a little worried that when people see you on 2020 that there's going to be reaction to this?
No.
Not concerned. People will have opinions.
All right, come this way. Good job.
Basically, what you want America to know is that you are...
No different than anybody else.
Well,
Well,
yes.
we're different, but, you know, we do the same things everybody else does.
You want to try that?
We're the same type of family everybody else is.
Next, the suburban home and the teenage party. Yes, mom and dad are there, but so is a lot of alcohol.
They started breathalyzing any kids that were trying to leave.
If kids sneak booze in, are mom and dad to blame?
The first thing that I remember was a policeman saying that my dad was going to jail.
When Meet the Parents continues.
Well, it's probably happening tonight. The teenage party's thrown in the house when the parents are out of town. We've seen the pictures before. Suddenly the house is overflowing, so is the booze, and then the cops arrive.
That usually leads to a day of reckoning with mom and dad, but what if mom and dad are home the whole time? Increasingly across the country, those parents are facing their own day of reckoning in court. It could have been a scene from this Playboy bash at Hef's mansion this past fall. The host's invitation even suggesting a dress code. Guys, robes, Chippendales dancers, Hugh Hefner-style clothing. Ladies, Playboy bunny costumes, bunny tails, tutus, leotards, anything that's in your comfort zone. But authorities say they were not comfortable with what was going on at this house on Camino del Val in Poway, California, especially since the birthday girl Olivia Lake was just 18 years old.
You have a party like this, and it's as though you're handing out hand grenades as party favors.
Our affiliate found these photos on Instagram that are now marked private. That's Olivia, the toast of the party, with a pipe in her mouth. Police say when they arrived at the Lake's home Friday night, 200 partygoers, most of them underage, were inside the house. And so was Olivia's dad, attorney Jeff Lake, who posed for this picture with his daughter.
Once they determined that there was a sizable amount of underage drinking going on inside the house, they took Mr. Lake into custody.
That's right, dad, not daughter, was hauled away. Police say for violating the city's social host ordinance.
No comment about the party at your house this weekend? No.
But in a written statement, Lake tells 2020 his intentions were to provide my daughter a fun and safe 18th birthday in the privacy of our own home, and it was to be drug and alcohol free. Lake says his daughter's rules were clear. My parents will be home, so please behave yourselves. And she clearly told her guests it's a clean party and to keep the party safe. Olivia's father says uninvited troublemakers on a public street resulted in exactly the opposite. And he's not the only parent to go through this experience. Barry and Paula Spencer's 18-year-old son Nick's party started out as a day of celebration. What were the ground rules?
Nothing illegal.
Those would prove to be famous last words.
We started having people show up who I didn't recognize and kind of got a little out of control.
A rager that within hours ballooned to about 100 rowdy kids, openly drinking in the backyard when police descend to break it up.
It was just mayhem.
The first thing that I remember was a policeman saying that my dad was going to jail.
The Spencers claim they were actually confiscating any alcohol